Hi, I'm Grace and this is my presentation on the plain zebra and blood pressure. By definition, homeostasis is the process by which the organism or cell actively maintains its internal conditions regardless of the outside changing environment. Homeostasis is maintained by control systems called feedback loops, which detect and respond to changes in the internal environment. A control system has three basic components: a stimulus, which causes a disruption to homeostasis, a control center, which receives input from the receptors and sends information to correct the change, and finally, the effector, which brings about a response to maintain homeostasis. There are two types of feedback mechanisms: negative and positive. Negative feedback is the most common in the body and is when the effector reverses the deviation from set normal range. Positive feedback enhances the effect of the stimulus, causing a decrease or increase in the original condition. In this presentation, I will inform you on the plain zebra and how it regulates its blood pressure. The plain zebra are located in southern and eastern Africa, inhabiting savannas and open woodlands. Zebras are herbivores and are boldly striped in black and white. They live in herds, giving greater protection against predators such as lions and hyenas. The height of the adult plain zebra is 112 to 147 centimeters at the shoulder. Their weight varies from 175 to 384 kilograms. The size of its heart is on average 2 times the size of a human's, and this means there is greater flow of blood circulating the body. When the heart beats, it pumps blood around the body to give it the energy and oxygen it needs to survive. As the blood moves, it pushes against the walls of the arteries. Blood pressure is a measure of how much force the heart uses to pump the blood through the arteries. Cardiac output is a measure of the amount of blood pumped out of the heart in 1 minute and supplies blood to the muscles and organs of the body. Cardiac output is made up of two components, heart rate and stroke volume. This means it is a combination of how many times the heart beats per minute and the quantity of the blood that is pumped out every minute. Total peripheral resistance is the resistance of the vessels, the small arterioles in specific, to blood flow. This brings me to another important idea needed in understanding how the regulation of the plain zebra's blood pressure is controlled. Vasodilation increases the diameter of lumen of the arterioles. Arterioles play such an important part to the regulation of the zebra's blood pressure because they are the most regulated blood vessel. Arterioles will increase the flow of blood due to the decrease in vascular resistance. Because the diameter of the blood vessel increases, the pressure of the blood against the arterial walls will decrease, and thus there is a decrease in blood pressure. This is particularly useful when thinking about the zebra exercising and maintaining homeostasis, which I will go further into detail later in the presentation. Vasoconstriction results from the increased contraction of the circular smooth muscle in the wall of the arteriole. As diameter of the lumen in the arteriole decreases, the flow of blood through the vessel is restricted. Blood pressure increases due to the fact that the diameter of the vessel is smaller and therefore blood force against the artery wall is greater. The purpose of the regulation of blood pressure to the plain zebra is to direct the right amounts of oxygen and nutrients to specific parts of the body to give it the energy it needs to live. Firstly, I will briefly show how a feedback loop works to maintain homeostasis and the regulation of blood pressure. To start with, there is input to the system. This is a disruption to homeostasis and is known as the stimulus, which could be an increase or decrease in the blood pressure of the plain zebra. This change in blood pressure activates the receptors known as baroreceptors, which are pressure-sensitive nerves located in carotid sinuses and the aortic arch and monitor the dilation of the elastic walls of the arteries. These baroreceptors send signals to the controller, which is the medulla oblongata that controls the autonomic functions of the zebra. The medulla interprets information and sends instructions off to correct the change. Instructions are sent to different areas of the autonomic nervous system, which controls functions of the heart. The heart will be the effector of the system, showing a response that maintains homeostasis. If there was a stimulus that caused a decrease in blood pressure, then this causes activation of the sympathetic nervous system, resulting in increased cardiac output and vasoconstriction of vessels of both arterial and venous systems. This would therefore increase the blood pressure back up to a normal range and maintain homeostasis. The endocrine system is essential in maintaining homeostasis. It involves a series of glands, the endocrine glands, that are located throughout the body. These glands secrete hormones directly into the blood for transport to target tissue. Simply the presence of a predator such as a lion will cause the blood pressure to rise due to stress or adrenaline. Adrenal glands, part of the endocrine system, will secrete stress hormones, adrenaline. The hormone will prepare the zebra for flight or fright by increasing the cardiac output and constricting the blood vessels through vasoconstriction to increase the zebra's blood pressure. When the plain zebra becomes aware of a predator, it will naturally gain adrenaline and run, which in turn increases blood pressure. This is because the zebra's muscles are producing more waste products, such as carbon dioxide, as the muscles do more work. The zebra will breathe harder and deeper to get rid of carbon dioxide. As the level of carbon dioxide produced increases, the amount of oxygen required by muscles is increased. As the heart pumps harder to send blood around the body, the zebra's blood pressure rises. To show how homeostasis and a plain zebra's blood pressure work, I will use an example of blood pressure increasing due to the zebra exercising as it runs from a predator. Zebras are heavy-bodied animals that are perfectly designed for speed, with their narrowed hooves helping them reach up to 40 kilometers per hour. In the feedback loop, the stimulus, which is an increase in blood pressure, causes a disruption to homeostasis. The rise in blood pressure will stimulate baroreceptors found in the aorta and carotid arteries, which act as receptors sending nerve impulses to the medulla oblongata. The medulla oblongata, the controller, will have two effects on the zebra. It will cause dilation of blood vessels to lower peripheral resistance and will also increase blood flow by sending signals to the heart. The heart acts as the effector and restores normal balance of blood pressure to the zebra. However, if there is a major disruption to the system, homeostasis cannot always be maintained. For example, if the plain zebra was to be attacked by a predator and there was a large loss of blood, then the zebra will enter hypovolemic shock. This is a type of emergency condition that causes severe blood and fluid loss and can lead to many organs stop working. Hypovolemic shock occurs as the result of volume failure when the body experiences a sudden and massive loss of circulating blood volume. However, because of the major loss of blood to the plain zebra, homeostasis is not able to be maintained because the rate of fluid loss outweighs the ability of the body to raise the blood pressure back up. The decrease in circulating volume decreases tissue perfusion and prevents the metabolic needs of the tissues and cells from being met. Eventually, this will die. As cellular death progresses, tissue death occurs, and this will lead to the death of the plain zebra, all as a result of homeostasis imbalance. Controlling blood pressure is important to the plain zebra because it allows it to be healthy. High blood pressure is called hypertension, and this means the heart has to pump harder. The higher the plain zebra's blood pressure is, the higher the chance of developing narrowed arteries, which can lead to heart and brain problems, kidney disease, and strokes. High blood pressure causes artery damage, and the kidneys are packed with arteries. Kidneys have dense blood vessels that allow high volumes of blood to flow through them. Uncontrolled high blood pressure can cause arteries to narrow, weaken, and not be able to deliver enough blood to kidney tissues. Damaged kidneys do not filter blood well. Nephrons that filter the fluids do not receive enough oxygen and nutrients and lose ability to regulate flow. As the arteries become blocked and stop functioning, the kidney will eventually fail, being ultimately fatal to the zebra. Without the regulation of blood pressure, the zebra would not be able to send appropriate amounts of blood to the brain and vital organs, and therefore would not receive the oxygen and nutrients required for survival. An advantage of the increase in blood pressure while the zebra exercises is that there is more blood flowing at a faster rate and body cells gain more oxygen and eliminate waste faster. The heart becomes more efficient at pumping blood because while exercising, physiological changes are occurring to meet the zebra's increased metabolism. As the volume of blood running through the heart increases, this stretches the heart muscles and makes it contract harder, increasing cardiac output. As a result of homeostasis, when the zebra's blood pressure increases, feedback loop explained previously occurs to restore the normal blood pressure range. The normal range is likely to have a lower heart rate due to exercising building the heart muscle of the zebra. This means the heart does not have to beat as often to keep up with metabolic demands. The zebra will in turn have more energy for other daily demands and needs. Adaptations of the arteries are perhaps the most important to the plain zebra and its regulation of blood pressure. The function of the arteries is to transport blood swiftly to the tissues. The artery has three components: the tunica intima, the tunica media, and the tunica externa. The tunica intima is made from endothelium, which rests on a thin layer of elastic fibers. Next up is the middle, the tunica media, containing smooth muscle, collagen, and elastic fibers. Finally, the outside, the tunica externa, containing elastic and collagen fibers also. The space in the middle where the blood flows through is called the lumen, which as previously explained helps control the diameter of the blood vessel, contributing to blood pressure. Arteries have the thickest walls of any blood vessel, and this, along with the smooth muscle and elastic fibers, allow the wall to stretch as pulses of blood from the heart come through at high pressure. The fact that they are elastic and are able to recoil after being stretched is vital to ensure they snap back after the pulse of blood has been through, raising the pressure and giving the blood a push to the tissue it needs to go to. As they get further from the heart and closer to the tissue to which they are giving blood to, they branch into smaller vessels known as arterioles. The arterioles are similar to arteries but smaller and with more muscle to push the blood along if required. As previously talked about, the arterioles are able to enhance or restrict blood flow, such as restricting blood flow during exercise because of vasoconstriction to help maintain homeostasis. Arteries are so important because they allow the regulation of blood pressure to occur.